right, 3, 2, 1, action. All right, welcome. Say your name.
My name is Nathan Mattix.
And how long have you been teaching Beauty and Joy of Computing?
I've been teaching Beauty and Joy of Computing for 4 years.
Wow, where do you teach?
I teach at Piedmont High School in Piedmont, California.
How many students do you teach it to?
Right now we have 2 sections of the class, and each class has about 26 students, so 52 students.
That's great. And how has that grown over the 4 years?
The population of students has doubled at Piedmont High School since we've started teaching BJC. Right now we have double the enrollment, but it's not only impacted the enrollment in the beginning computing class, which is now BJC, it's impacted the enrollment on all of our classes. Before we started teaching BJC, we were averaging about 16 students per year that signed up for AP computers. This year we have 60, including 19 girls, and we had to add a second computer lab and a second computer teacher, and so it's really transformed our whole program, not just the one class.
That's awesome. Tell me, you had this story that you emailed me about girls at Piedmont were usually one and done, and that's not the case. Tell me about kind of like what girls had done in terms of going through this.
Well, I know that if you go back several years, we only had 2 or 3 girls out of like 50 or 60 students taking computer classes. That was all together. And now, as I said, we have 20 in our AP class, and girls would sign up. If they took the beginning class, they would almost never take the AP class. We only had 1 or 2 in the AP class, and there's increased interest overall, which is one of the reasons the enrollment is way up. And we have not yet met our goal, though. We want full participation of all of our students, but we're getting much closer to that.
So what's your demographic percentage-wise gender breakdown in your BJC classes?
I would say right now that it's about 70-30, 70% boys, 30% girls. And we would like for it obviously to be closer to 50-50, but we're at least headed in the right direction.
Okay, great. What's your overall feeling about Beauty and Joy of Computing?
Well, I enjoy teaching it very much, and I think that the students enjoy teaching it, enjoy taking it almost, as much as I enjoy teaching it. And so I've just been thrilled that we've been doing it. And my one regret is that we didn't start it sooner. I look back and wish that years ago, when computer programming probably was not all that interesting, that we were doing something like this. But of course, it's not been around that long, so.
Now, what are the pieces of the pieces of BJC? What do you find feels the best part? Is it the curriculum module? Is the class transformation? Is it the graphical language that's being used? It's social implications of computing that you're talking about? What are the pieces of BJC that really work for you, that you really like?
I think the fact that it's a visual language is one of the more important aspects of it. Not only is the code itself visual, the drag and drop coding, so you can, instead of typing, you can actually see what you're doing and putting together. But then what you create is also visual and very motivating. So that's a huge aspect of the course. Another thing that I like about it is that there's an emphasis on creativity. Students, instead of having to being given a specific project to do, they can choose their own projects in a lot of cases. Maybe not always, but even if you give them a specific project like rock, paper, scissors, you're going to get 40 different ways of doing it. They're not going to look the same, so there's even creativity in that. So I think that the visual aspect and the creativity are probably the 2 biggest pluses in my opinion.
That's great. How do you teach the social implications part of it? How do you actually engage your kids to do either the reading or to talk about it, have discussions about the reading or about current events of computing? How do you do that?
I do give them the readings, but I usually I like to supplement the readings with videos or articles or other current events, so that there's usually a reading, as well as a video to watch, maybe an article that was on the internet that was published in like maybe a newspaper like website. So it all becomes very real, and it's certainly not dry. And then afterwards, we have discussions about it, and so I think that adds, makes the class more interesting.
Okay, great. Two more questions. Do you have any particular stories of students being engaged by the material? I remember when Susie did this. Tell me some positive stories.
Well, I have had a student last year who everything she did was gold. From her very first project, in fact, you probably don't remember this, but I emailed it to you because it was so fantastic, so creative and so funny, and everything she did continued on being that way. And there was a parent that owns a tech company, and he came to visit the school, and I showed him 2 or 3 of her projects, and his response was, "I would hire that girl right now for my company." And he was dead serious, just based on what he could see in the programming and the creativity of her projects. And so yeah, there's been so many wonderful things the students have done, but that's one that stands out in my mind.
That's great. And finally, do you have any closing thoughts that we haven't asked yet? Any messages for other teachers thinking about teaching BJC?
Well, I was hesitant to do it. It was probably suggested to me like 4, 5, 6 times before I even really seriously considered making a change, because making changes are difficult. And I was very set in my ways and wanted to just keep on doing the same thing. Of course, once I did change, I'm glad that I made that change. The one thing I think back over the years of teaching computer programming is that I think in the past, for every one student I inspired to go on into programming, there was probably 4 or 5 that were pushed away. And now I think that probably almost everyone that takes BJC wants to do more computer classes. So it inspires a larger segment of the population. And so whatever that hesitancy was, it shouldn't have been there.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Nathan. Thank you for being one of our BJC family members, one of our leaders.
You're welcome.